Hello everyone. Well, it is now April, and April certainly in the southern plains means that severe weather is upon us. We've seen certainly a lot of severe weather here over the last couple weeks, even across North Texas, but we had some bad tornadoes in Mississippi and Georgia, and then yesterday a pretty decent outbreak across a large swath of the country, really all the way from Wisconsin, Iowa, Illinois, down into Arkansas and Tennessee and Kentucky, and then stretching down even into northeast Texas and Louisiana. I was out chasing there. Nothing too crazy, but it does look like that we might have a little bit of a sneaky severe weather threat tomorrow, Sunday, April 2nd, really across much of North Texas, Northeast Texas, and then maybe southern Oklahoma around the Red River area. So I wanted to take a look at that, make sure that we're kind of aware of what the threat looks like tomorrow, kind of the timing of some of those storms and what areas those storms may impact. So let's first look at the Storm Prediction Center Day 2 outlook. This looks at, again, tomorrow, April 2nd, Sunday, kind of afternoon and evening. We can see that we have a slight risk here over much of North Texas, including the Dallas-Fort Worth metro area. Stretches from around Waco to the south to around the Red River, Wichita Falls area in the north, kind of the big country and rolling kind of northwest Texas plains to the west, and probably around the Longview, Tyler, Texas area off to the east. We do have an upgraded tornado threat here. Storm Prediction Center has a 5% tornado risk for kind of west, south, and southwest areas, including Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. And this is going to be kind of that mid to late afternoon and early evening, probably likely that 3 to about 7, 8 p.m. time frame, for some potential certainly that we could get a couple supercells that could be capable of all severe weather threats, including damaging wind gusts, certainly some larger hail that could be damaging, and then maybe a couple tornadoes as well with those more isolated storms. Let's now take a look at kind of the overall environment and kind of what the models are showing. Again, a couple places that we always want to look at is look at what those upper level winds are doing, so kind of along the jet stream. And I think this is actually a little bit of an interesting look here. Let me bring up my tool here. And I think one thing that you want to point out here is anytime that you see, these are our isobars right here. So this kind of looks at the pressure, kind of different little, any type of little low pressure systems or any little kind of kinks in the flow aloft at the jet stream level. So when we see a little bit of a dip here, we see a significant dip here, a kink here, here. This is a little shortwave trough, and so we can see kind of this dig down. This is called a trough, and a little bit of a shortwave, again, doesn't extend over a large area, but anytime that you get these little shortwave troughs, this oftentimes is enough of that little bit of forcing and a little bit of extra energy to get those storms to fire off. And so this is what looks like it's setting up for tomorrow, kind of across that kind of a little bit west of DFW area along the dry line that we'll be setting up. And this kink in the flow aloft to the jet stream level does look like it's going to be enough to set off those storms and create this severe weather threat across North Texas. So this is looking, again, jet stream here. We certainly have some winds. We've got this little shortwave trough that's going to be digging in. When we look at the lower level, kind of that low level jet, nothing extraordinary, nothing like yesterday across the threat areas, but we do see that there is some enhanced flow really kind of centered around that Dallas-Fort Worth and a little bit southwest and even southeast. So certainly enough flow kind of late middle afternoon. This is looking at about 4 p.m. tomorrow. Certainly enough to get some of those rotating thunderstorms, and we can see that this is kind of coming generally out of the southwest. Another thing that we always want to look at is look at moisture. What's that going to look like? So again, this is 4 p.m. in the afternoon. We can see a pretty nice little dry line setting up kind of right along this area here. We've got a little bit of almost kind of like a little kind of pseudo surface low here. We're going to have kind of a warm front that's lifting up this way. And then kind of this area off to the east of the dry line, south of the warm front, would likely be the threat area, and that's where the Storm Prediction Center has outlined. Certainly enough moisture at play here when we look at some of these, low 60s to mid 60s dew points. Plenty of moisture that's going to be pulled forward over the overnight and then into tomorrow morning to get those storms. So really no question with moisture there. Certainly another thing that we always want to look at are some of this kind of severe weather ingredients that are at play. First thing that we can look at is that surface-based CAPE, kind of that convective allowable energy, that storm juice. we can see, more than, 2,000, 2,500 joules per kilogram. A couple of these little holes here are where the models are projecting storms to initially fire off. So again, this would be kind of west of Dallas-Fort Worth, south of the Wichita Falls area. So plenty of instability here by mid-afternoon around that 4 p.m. time. I always like to look at the energy helicity index. This combines that storm juice or that cape with the shear that's necessary to get supercell thunderstorms and those storms to be rotating. We can see some of these enhanced values again around that same area where these storms are projected to fire. So certainly looks like there's going to be enough of those ingredients in play for severe weather. Another thing that I wouldn't put too much value on, but these are called the maximum updraft helicity or helicity swaths. Basically, this is a look at where the models show those most powerful updrafts of thunderstorms being. And so we've got one that kind of moves across the kind of south of Wichita Falls, kind of that northwest Texas area here, moves off to the east. We've got another one that it shows probably just southwest of Dallas-Fort Worth, kind of moving to the southeast. A couple others over here moving to the east around northeast Texas or kind of the Shreveport area. This is never exact, so I wouldn't say, oh, well, this crosses my house, so I know that there's going to be a strong storm that moves over my home, but more of just an example of where we might see some of those stronger storms. And again, this area kind of across north and northeast Texas, probably Red River and south. And so this is generally the threat area that we're going to look at for those severe thunderstorms tomorrow. And tomorrow certainly could see a little bit of an enhanced risk of storms here tomorrow. I wasn't really expecting this even as recent as last night, but we have seen an uptrend in the environment. And then we've got another risk on Monday. Now, let me clear this for us. When we look at the next several days, we've got tomorrow, Sunday, we've got that North Texas risk. Then on day 3, we've got a risk across some of the same areas stretching up into Oklahoma, Kansas, western Missouri as well. Kind of late evening, maybe even overnight storms. And then looks like the next big severe weather risk is likely going to be on Tuesday across many of the same areas that were impacted yesterday. Arkansas, Missouri, Iowa, Illinois. Looks like that could be a potentially significant severe weather outbreak on Tuesday with really all modes of severe weather possible. So certainly we're in April, springtime in the southern central plains. This is prime severe weather season. Definitely now's the time to make sure that you have the ability to get watches and warnings, get those updates from the National Weather Service, make sure your phone has those emergency alerts turned on so that you can keep yourself and your family certainly safe during these next couple months of severe weather season. So hopefully this video was helpful, and I'll see you around for the next video.